In this lesson, we will learn one way of talking about the past in Italian. There are several different tenses used for talking about the past, but today we will focus solely on il passato prossimo. The passato prossimo also has several different ways of forming. The most common use of il passato prossimo is with the verb avere and the participio passato, which we will learn later in this lesson. The passato prossimo can also be formed with the verb essere, but that will be taught in a separate lesson. So let's begin with a quick review of forming the verb avere. To conjugate the verb avere in the present tense, io ho, tu hai, lui lei ha, noi abbiamo, voi avete, loro hanno. Il participio passato is formed as follows. From the infinitives such as cantare, we have cantato. Dare, dato. Mangiare, mangiato. Lavorare, can you guess? Cantato, dato, mangiato, lavorato. The participio passato is formed by dropping the infinitive ending are for are verbs and adding the regular endings for participio passato are verbs, ato. Now let's look at ere verbs. We have avere, avuto, vendere, venduto, ricevere, ricevuto, potere, what's your guess? Potuto. And for ire verbs, we have finire, finito, capire, capito, dormire, dormito, preferire, preferito. So as you can see, each type of verb has a separate ending. For this example, let's look at nostro amico, il dinosauro. Il dinosauro non ha lavorato, ha preferito fare il golf. Of course, we have our irregular past participles. The past participle in English is very similar to the past participle in Italian in that it has many irregulars. The past participle in English is formed with ed. For example, the verb to receive in its past participle in English is received. I have received. It's a regular verb. Ed is the regular ending for all English verbs. However, in English we have many irregulars. For example, to do, I have done. Doesn't have anything to do with that regular ed ending. Here we have a list of irregular past participles. Let's see if you can guess what the infinitives of these irregular past participles are. Fatto, fare. Bevuto, bere. Chiesto, chiedere. Chiuso, chiudere. Conosciuto, conoscere. Letto, leggere. Messo, mettere. Preso, prendere. Scritto, scrivere. Speso, spendere. Aperto, aprire. Detto, dire. There are, of course, other irregular past participles, but these are among the most common. As you can see, they don't follow the regular pattern. If we look at the verb fare as an example, if we followed the regular pattern, we would remove the are infinitive ending and add the ato regular ending. But in this case, we have two t's, atto, the double consonant. Let's look at one more. If we were to form the verb bere regularly in the past participle, we would remove the ere ending and we would have buto because we would add the uto regular past participle ending. But of course, we have an irregular verb. We have this separate ending evuto. Here's an example using the past participle. Mio papà ha fatto una torta buonissima, which would translate as my dad made a delicious cake. So now we've reviewed the verb avere and we've learned how to form a past participle in Italian. If we put the two together, we have our past tense passato prossimo. This is perhaps the most common past tense used in Italian, and it can be used to talk about the recent past, saying anything you did in the past, and also in the more distant past. And you'll get more comfortable with how to use it as time goes on. For now, let's mostly focus on the formation. So here we have some examples and their English translations. Ho comprato pane. Hai studiato? And if we look at the translations for this one, we can see you could translate it in two different ways. Did you study or have you studied? And you would understand which meaning was intended through the context. Hanno venduto la macchina. Abbiamo preferito dormire. Roberta ha ricevuto un pacco. Non ho capito. Avete finito di lavorare? So now, let's let you practice. How would you say, I slept well? Nostro amico dinosauro dice, I slept well. So we'd first start with the verb dormire, and to form the past participle, the ire ending would drop off of the infinitive. And let's remember what the endings for past participles in the ire verbs. Dormire, dormito. We'd add the ito ending, and don't forget your verb avere. So the verb avere in the io form, o, and then the past participle of sleep, dormire, ho dormito bene. Nostro amico il dinosauro dice, ho dormito bene. One more detail to remember about the passato prossimo when using the verb avere occurs when you have the pronouns lo, la, li, le occurring before the verb. Let's take a look. Ho comprato il pane. Tu l'hai visto? So here we have the L apostrophe, which is a pronoun. It's a direct object pronoun replacing il pane. I bought the bread. Did you see it? So this is our it in Italian. It's masculine because it's referring to il pane. So when we have this situation where lo, la, li, or lei, or its contracted forms with the apostrophes, are before the verb avere, we have to look at the gender of the past participle. This is the only time you have to do this with the passato prossimo and avere, is when you have the pronouns directly before the verb avere. So because we have this pronoun here, we have to make visto agree with the pronoun. Since the pronoun is referring to il pane, it's the singular masculine pronoun. Visto has to be singular and masculine. Let's look at another example. Ho fatto la torta. Tu l'hai mangiato? I made the cake. Did you eat it? So here we have our L apostrophe, which is the contracted form of la, referring to la torta. And because we have the singular feminine pronoun here before the verb avere, we have to alter the past participle so that it agrees. Mangiata. Tu l'hai mangiata? Here we have ho scritto le lettere. Le lettere, plural feminine. Tu le hai letto? I wrote the letters. Did you see them? This le is referring to the letters. And because letters is plural and feminine, we have to change letto to lette. And the final example, ho venduto I libri. Tu li hai comprati? I sold the books. Did you buy them? Once again, we have the plural masculine pronoun, which means we have to alter our past participle to be plural and masculine. So comprato becomes comprati. And remember, you don't have to do this every time you form the passato prossimo with avere, only when you're using the pronoun before the verb avere. As you can see, ho comprato, here the comprato stays singular masculine, as it does here, even though you're referring to la torta. It's only when the pronoun is taking place of the direct object and it comes before the verb avere. So let's quickly review what you learned in this lesson. After this lesson, you should be able to quickly and easily conjugate the verb avere, since we've reviewed and practiced it, form regular past participles from infinitive verbs, and recognize some of the basic irregular past participles. And because you can do all of that, you can now talk about the past in Italian using the passato prossimo and avere. And you can hopefully and probably use the passato prossimo with avere with the pronouns lo, la, li, and lei before them correctly. One final example. Il nostro amico dinosauro dice ho fatto l'uovo. So we would say ha cantato ho fatto l'uovo. The dinosaur sang I made an egg, I laid an egg. Ha cantato ho fatto l'uovo. This concludes our presentation on il passato prossimo. I hope you have found this lesson useful.